Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's Mystic Moment, where we continue on with intellectual curiosity. And there were three main points that I wanted to make. Last week was how intellectual curiosity is a form of reverence. And I was going to separate out the next two, but I think that I just want to combine them with the way all three of these points play upon each other. It just seems a bit more cohesive. I want to read for you a few quotes. The Dalai Lama. If science proves some belief of Buddhism wrong, then Buddhism will have to change. This radical openness to discovery, scientific, philosophical, or experiential, is a form of humility before truth. It shows that curiosity is an expression of spiritual integrity, not its negation. Now, the quote is only from the first part, where Buddhism will have to change if science proves anything. From another tradition, from the ever-popular Rumi, sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Cleverness is mere opinion. Bewilderment is intuition. And the reflection on this, that bewilderment, say that fast 5 times, for Rumi is to him the highest form of curiosity. It's almost to be baffled with wonder. And for him, it leads to intimacy with the divine. To ask, to seek, to be undone by wonder was to draw closer to love itself. Isn't that profound? It's so profound. I just want to stop and be there with it. And then someone that I love, Teilhard de Chardin. By virtue of creation and still more of the incarnation, nothing here below is profane for those who know how to see. Talk about dismantling dualism. And he himself was Christian, that has propagated in the mainstream so often a sense of dualism. He had a relentless curiosity about what? About the cosmos, right? Because he developed a whole theory called Christogenesis. And that theory is the unfolding of consciousness as matter, through matter, in matter. So for him to be curious even about the universe was to trace the contours of God's face. And I couldn't resist Hildegard of Bingen. All living creatures are sparks from the radiation of God's brilliance, emerging from God like rays of the sun. Her own path, and we know this because of how much that she brought into form through homeopathy and chant and the creation of a monastery, that her path was inseparable from her intellectual and sensory exploration of creation. All the mystics, all the ones that give us these inspirational quotes reveal the place of intellectual curiosity. And what these quotes, I think, bring forward are the 2 points. Remember last week, it was that intellectual curiosity is a form of reverence. This week, we entertain the possibility that curiosity keeps us humble and alive, keeps us on the edge of our knowing, on the edge of our truth. And that curiosity unites intellect and spirit. That They give witness that this aspect of the mind is not opposed to the spirit. And when we look at a lot of the teachings of not being identified as your ego and the mind as being our greatest obstacle to presence, we sell ourselves short by stopping there. Is there truth that our mind sells us a bill of goods that is a form of false security? Oftentimes. But the mind is a gift. And the mind is really just a servant. If we were to take any teaching deeper, where the mind or the ego are not villainized, but rather seen as important aspects of the development of self, we discover that there's great power that's exerted with the mind and the ego. And that power can really propel us more deeply into the knowing that goes beyond understanding, that gives an understanding beyond words. That the mind and the ego and the intellectual aspect of ourselves is meant to always be employed, always. And where we surrender our own investigation through an encouragement of blindness, a blind assent, we surrender part of our God nature. This is not meant to lead us to villainize the structures either, but to see the way the structures misuse this power just like individuals do, so that we can take responsibility for ourselves and our path, so that we can see things as they truly are, and in that discover a new pathway forward, a one that does not lead us down the path of powerlessness, but rather empowerment. So my first optional homework to you today is, where have you tended to villainize power structures, or structures that exert power, or aspects of yourself that exert power? Where have you villainized? And how can you shift so that you can see that these powers can be for good? And that the operative principle is the surrender into the essential aspect of self, where we learn the skillfulness to use these powers, in this case, intellectual curiosity, ego, the mind, where they can be used for good. I look forward to your reflections. Please write a comment on the Patreon site if you're inclined. I love seeing the isolated comments that come forward. I know many of you are not so comfortable verbalizing to the entire group, and I get that. Send me a private message like many of you do. But if you feel inclined, this is a private group. There's 39 people that are part of Patreon. I know they're not people that you know, or maybe you know some of them, but it is a safe space. These aren't comments that go out to the general public. So you can feel safe that it is contained within the private membership. So if you feel inclined, leave a comment so that your own reflection can inspire others, not only to share, but also to learn with you and from you. Have a great day.